Good morning, good afternoon if you are away from the West Coast. Anyway, good morning. Welcome to the Breakfast Club. This is Joe Shoup with my partner, Mark Stevens. And I'm excited today because Mark's going to share a bunch of information for us. And look, before we get started, let me make a few comments here. You know, when you partner up with the right person, when you really find someone that you're in tune with, things are a lot easier. And they always told us in this home business arena that work with people you like. Find people that you like, not just anybody. Learn how to dismiss. Learn how to not get so excited about everybody that comes along and just find the right person. And of course, that takes communication. From the very first conversation and communication you have with someone, you make the determinations, at least early, maybe not the first call, but the first couple of calls and connections, you find that out. And that's what we talk about all the time, Mark and I, how communication is so important. And we've just revised the communication class. We're almost ready to unveil that. And I'm very excited about that, Mark. It's just because it's just that we have the same information delivered in a different format with new slides. And a back end of that now is we've added to it business basics and how to get your business started, not just communicating in your business, to how to really get it started, how to write your plan, those activities that you need in business. And that's what Mark's going to talk to you about today. It's important not only to educate yourself, but to educate the people around you, or at least make sure that they're educated around you. How do you do that? Well, you have to be connected to a system. You've got to be connected to people who know how to get your new people started. That's what has to happen. You've got to know where to take the new person. Look, it's one thing to find a person who's excited, who wants to join you in your venture, regardless of what company you're with. But when they get there and you make the decision that you're going to partner up with them, how do you get them started? What do you tell them to do? Where do they go? How do they start their business? Most people don't know how to run a business. It's quite obvious that most people fail in the first 18 months of a business. And whether that's online or networking or as brick and mortar, most people fail. And so something must be wrong, right? And it's in the understanding of business and the way you communicate your business. And we are in a business of communication, learning how to tell people what it is that we have without messing it all up, without driving them away. And communication is a really, really, really big part of this. But Mark, as I see it, and I've learned from years and years of experience, most people don't really know what communication is. They don't know the elements of communication, what it really takes to communicate with somebody. They think because they're just talking away and telling something that the person is hearing it. And we're going to see that that's not true. And when we deal with the communication class, it's called a networking communication class, the terminology you use creates a perception, and that perception had better make sense to the listener. And they better get it. They better understand what you have just said. And most people don't know how to make sure that happens. So to get your people started and educated, I'm excited, Mark, to always have you as my partner, but to hear you do this. I'm going to throw a few slides up here for you and see if I can do that. But look, Mark Stevens has been a successful businessman for years. I mean, I'm going to say 30 more years, 30 plus. He is still in the financial world. He's in the medical world. He's in the business world. And he teaches people how to be successful and how to communicate. And I think, Mark, what I wanted you to do today as well is share what happened over the weekend at some point of your discussion here. What actually happened over the weekend that was quite a revelation to you? And I was excited to hear that. So without further ado, my partner, Mark Stevens.
Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Breakfast Club family. It's great to be with you again. As I was hearing Joe talk, I was thinking, you know, over the last, I'd say 15 months, based on what he and I have been doing together. And the thing to understand, we weren't actually doing it for us, but we were doing it for you and other people, but it pertains to us as well. In other words, we always look at ourselves first, and then we look at, well, how can we make us better, and how can we help others be better? Because when you're bringing somebody into a business with you, they're looking for you to help them. And, you know, just like if you saw it in the email notification, you saw a picture and it says, help them accomplish their dreams. Well, see, when they come in, they have a dream, and their dream is to be successful in business and be successful in a business working from home. And when you think about it, why do people want to work from home? Well, first of all, they don't like to travel, you know, all of the congestion with the traffic. And as you often hear me say, they do not like to deal with the supervisor from hell on their jobs. They went through that for a lot of years, and some are still going through it right now as they work part-time in this business. But they're doing that because they want the part-time to become their full-time and get all the pressure and all these different things that bother them to get away from it. And they look to people like us who have done it and are doing it to help them. So this is where we help them accomplish their dreams. But in order to do that, you have to know what you're doing. And this is why we're talking about going back to basics. Well, what are the basics? And think about this. In your business now, are you doing the basics? What are the basics? Because before you can go past that, and before you can teach it to somebody else, you have to know it. Because if you think about it, it is the most important thing. And that is, you know, when you bring on a new affiliate, you know, as a partner, you have to make sure that they understand the basics and understand what it takes to be successful. But you must first know that yourself, and you must first practice that yourself. And then you'll be able to teach it, because guess what? We all know that about 97% of the people in this business, they don't make the money that they thought they were going to make. And then a lot of them are spending more that they put into their business than they're making, and they're frustrated. And what do you think the reason for that is? And what do you think is the biggest problem that they face? And some of you, if you're honest, you may be facing that right now, and you've been in it a while. Well, that's okay. The key is that, and remember last week, Joe talked about this last week, talked about change. See, without change, there's no progress. And change is inevitable. So that's why you have to go back to the basics and understand it's going right back to the beginning. Let me start over, but this time let me do right. Now, there's some things that you need in order to do that, because guess what? The biggest problem we face is that, you know, most of us aren't making the money that we thought we were going to make. And, you know, and when they started out to do that, they were led to believe, because of hype, you know, all these different money figures, because of all you do, just get in and I'm going to help you, and you're going to be this, you're going to be that. That does not work. That's an old model that does not work. And there are companies being shut down today because of those types of procedures and what people are doing. So let's get to the topic. Going back to basics. Now, when you go back to basics, there's some things that you're going to need. First thing you're going to need is education. How can you, in good conscience, teach somebody about a business or about running a business if you don't know how to do it yourself? How can you teach someone to run a business and be successful in that business if you do not know how to connect in that business? How can you teach someone to be successful in a business if you don't know how to talk in that business? As Joe said a minute ago, terminology and perception, it has to make sense. And you can talk yourself blue in the face all day long, but if the perception that that person is getting is this, or this is just another one of those programs, or this is, they tell you that you're going to make all this money and it just gets you in, because you're buying a package and they're going to make some money. Well, what's in it for me? Well, I've been there, done that. And guess what? What we need to understand is that, and this is why Joe and I always work outside of the box. The last 50 or 60 years, you've been told X, Y, Z. And guess what? If X, Y, Z worked, why are people still today, 97% of the people, not making any money, including in Karatbars, and not making the money they thought they were going to make? And the reason being is this: they're not doing the basics and they're not getting the education. So my question to you is, what do you do when you first bring someone into your business? And understand, I'm not just talking about Karatbars, I'm talking about any business, because I'm gonna share with you my weekend. I went away this weekend with my other business, and the people in the room are very educated people, which I'm not. I mean, I'm talking about people with medical degrees, PhDs, ABCs. I mean, the whole gamut was in the room. People from different backgrounds, different nationalities, and they're in this particular business that I'm involved in. And the amazing thing, let me go ahead and finish that story, and then I'll bring it back to where we are today in the Breakfast Club and our Karatbars. Whether it is a brick and mortar business, whether it's an online business, one of the most important things is communication. What do I say? Who do I say it to? How do I ask the right questions? And if they ask me a question, what do I say to that question? How do I answer that question? Not to lose them. And I was sitting there, and the CEO of this company was doing his talk, and he was talking to everybody in the room. There was about 60 people in the room, and questions were being asked. And some of the presenters, when they presented their part of the meeting, they asked questions, and they asked people, you can ask questions now. And the people would ask questions. Well, what do I say when somebody asks me this about our business? What do I say when they do this? And I'm sitting there looking over at Cecil Piper sitting next to me with the biggest smile on my face. And I said, Cecil, do you see the importance of the communication class? And he said, yes, I do. Because again, these are bright people, but they're not asking the right questions, and they don't know how to answer a question. You know, how much money can I make in this? And what do you do? How long have you been in this? These types of questions. So for those of you that have not taken the communication class, you're making a big mistake. And I'm gonna tell you why. Before I took the communication class, personally myself, I had been doing business for a number of years and successful and helping other people. But when I took the communication class, my whole terminology changed. I don't even remember what I said way back then anymore, because I got so engrossed in the communication class, and it's like, it's second nature to me. It's the only way that I talk, whether I'm on the phone, on Skype, out in the street, in the grocery store, in the bank. It does not matter where I am. It just flows out of me. Terminology, perception, it has to make sense. And the thing is that if you don't know how to do that, and you can ask yourself, and I'll say this too, your upline partner, your senior leader, ask one of them some of the questions that you like to ask and see what kind of answers that you get. Have you done a three-way with any of them? And if you did, how did that work? Were you on the phone 20 minutes or 30 minutes? Or were you on the phone 3 to 5 minutes, and then you were ready to register your new partner? Were you able to talk to that new partner that you brought into the business and hadn't talked to your director, like we call them? And were you able to answer their questions that they asked you? Well, guess what? If not, then you lose a lot of people. And remember, in our business, all it takes is the right tool, but it also takes the right questions, takes the right answers. You have to do these things. Now, in addition to education, what else do we need? We need tools. A carpenter cannot build a house or build a table or whatever they're going to build without what? Tools. Because without tools, you can't be successful in your business. Because when somebody comes in business, they need to know what to do. And when we bring them in our business, they definitely need to know what to do. And what do we have? We have spent a lot of time and money, and we have developed an educational vault in our marketing system. And from day one, from hour one, we can take an individual and start them in business today with the right education and with the right tools. And what do we ask them? With a little bit of training and coaching and a lot of help, do you feel that you can be successful with our company operating a business working from home? And they say yes. Well, guess what? When they say yes, you just committed yourself. So the question is, what do? You go into that educational vault and you take them from A to Z and you let them know this is the way, as I said, this is the way that we do it. And when you go through that and walk them through that, they're getting education, they're getting training, they're getting coaching, and they have a system, because it's a system where recruiting never stops. Because what do they have to do? They have to get 2 or more just like you do. But if they don't know how to do that, what happens? They get frustrated and they leave. Now, I'm going to say this. There's a lot of people that have left Karatbars, not because, and they leave other companies. They don't leave them because the product is not good or the company is not good. What it is that they don't have any training. They don't have any education. That brings on frustration. And they say, well, I put up all this money and there's nobody there to help me. I don't have, how do I do this? How do I tell other people? You have to have the tools in order to do that. You have to be able to tell people and show them that you're in business. Therefore, what do you have to have? You have to have a marketing system, a contact management system. Remember, this is not a hobby. It's a business. In business, if you're going to build a McDonald's, you can't just put up the building and have no tables for people to sit at to eat, have no instruments to cook on, to prepare the food and everything. You have to have everything, which means you have to spend a little bit of money. And it doesn't take a whole lot of money in what we do. As a matter of fact, a person can come into Karatbars with no money and become successful with no money now. But what they still do need, they do need the education, they do need the training, and they do need the system. So this is what we have to do. And if you want to be successful, I think Einstein said that, something like education is not about the facts, but it's the training of the mind. In other words, what we have to learn how to do is think properly and think on our feet. So if you're out and about like I am a lot, or even on the phone, or if you're on Skype or whatever, if somebody asks you a question, you need to be thinking ahead and you need to know what you're going to say to them. And the only way to know that is to have your mind trained. And this is what happens in a communication class. It helps with the training of the mind, that when you bring someone in this business, you're able to coach them and train them and give them what they need to be successful. And let me say this to you too. This is not a sprint, but it's a marathon. And I tell people, look, this is not a get rich quick, but it's a get wealthy over time. Now notice I didn't use the word slow. I said over time. It's a difference. Thinking, what you say, terminology and perception. If I say it's slow, they're gonna say, well, I don't want to make it slow. But if I say get wealthy over time could be a little bit of time, a lot of time, or a medium amount of time. Again, it's about training the mind to think. So Ask yourself this question. What do I do when I bring somebody in the business? Okay, you tell them about the business. What do you do next? Think about that. Do you have a management system? Do you know how to communicate and connect with the person? Now, can you really honestly say, yes, I do? If they ask me, how much are you making? Can I answer that question? If they ask me, is this a pyramid? Can I answer that question? Because guess what? A lot of people think MLM is a pyramid. That's what they think. And guess what? That came up at the meeting this weekend. You know, the question was asked, and they said that, you know, why do people disdain multi-level marketing? What do they say? They say it's a pyramid. They say it doesn't work. They say the people up top are the only ones that's making the money. They say that they just get us in here and they leave us. We don't know what to do. Have you heard that before? I think, Joe, you and I have been preaching this for about 15 months now, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what I'm saying, because we're getting to the bottom of the hour, is this. Let's go back to the basics. And for those of you, I want to encourage you, those that have not taken a communication class, it will change what you do. Those of you that do not have the system, you know, we use ToolsRock, but I mean, you can get another system or whatever, but we have designed the system to do what we needed to do based on what we do. So we have the system, we have an educational vault back there that will teach a person from A to Z what to do. Videos, everything is back there. Now, but what they really also need is they need you. They need you to what? You told them with a little bit of coaching and training and a lot of help. Can you see yourself becoming successful? Well, remember, you have to help them accomplish their dreams. But in order to do that, you have to take them back to basics and you have to show them what to do and how to do it. And you have to show them in a way that they can teach it to others. That's the duplication. If you teach them properly, then they can teach somebody else properly. And if your whole team is doing that, that's how it'll grow. And remember what I always say, it's not the quantity, it's the quality, because the quality will produce the quantity. Why? Because everybody is synergistically together, doing the same thing, saying the same thing, making the terminology and the perception make sense. That's what makes your business grow. Now here's a question. How can you possibly guide or teach others to be successful if you haven't done the basics, if you haven't gotten the right system, and if you haven't set the proper foundation to do it? So what I'm saying to you is, those of you that have not, invest in your education. Because remember, we still, you know, have the responsibility to educate ourselves, and, you know, and we have a more responsibility to help others, because as Joe often say, do right by the people around you as well as doing right by the customer. Now, guess what? Your affiliates are customers to you, so to speak, but they're your team members, and you want them to be as strong, as fruitful, as confident as you are. And again, the only way to do that is to go back to the basics, get the proper education, get the proper tools, and then you can tell them for real, I'll see you at the top. Joe, I'll turn it back over to you.
That's great, Mark. You know what? Take a look at the screen, everybody. This is obviously a very important man in our history, but let's take the back end of that says stop thinking and go in. This is after you've understood what it is you need to do. You know, get your thinking in order, and then stop thinking about thinking, and then go to work. That's what it's really saying. Go to work. That's the secret to this business, is going to work. But as Mark said, how are you going to do that if you don't know what to do? The average person doesn't know what to do. And I don't care who's teaching them in this industry that's making a lot of money. I don't hear the basics being taught, you know, with how to get started, what a business plan really looks like, and then showing them the activities that need to be instituted into and instilled into the program. And so it's the same story. You know, it's understanding what it is that you need to do and then going and doing it. And so one of the things that, Mark happened this weekend for Mark is he was in another group of people aside from this company and in another company that he's with, a medical company. And here he is sitting in that room with all these educated people, educated in some respect, but not understanding how to communicate their business, how to operate their business, what language they need to use to be able to move that business forward. So this is a universal problem. This is not a Karatbar problem. This is a universal problem. I've witnessed this for 20 some years, as Mark has, and many others. And it's why we get the drop off rate that we do, because, and I think that Mark, I know, I could say this, Mark went through that class every time we had it. He sat in that class every time. It's probably been 10 times. I don't know. But that's why he's able to, he committed himself to saying, I'm going to change. It's time for change and go to work. Now, it's not that he didn't know anything before. It's obvious he was successful before. But in this business, it's a little different. Learning how to say things to people and how to respond to questions with confidence. It's easy to respond, but to respond with confidence, it takes education. It takes thinking. And that's what we're about. That's what our group teaches, is about thinking and getting it right. So with that, thanks for being here, Mark, as always. And we have some exciting stuff coming up. We have some changes in Tools Rock. We've got things I'm helping with the company to help people maintain and be able to understand their marketing tool. A lot of people don't understand that tool. And so I'm working with the company now to do some educational things so that people can do how and use the system like Mark and I do. And we found out some exciting things in the last couple of days with autoresponders and how we can utilize those and maximize its potential. So I'm excited about that. But with that, any final words, Mark? We're going to say goodbye here and have a great day, everybody. And
yes, it's really simple. Again, if you haven't done that, you can't do anything. There's 2 days of the year that you can't do anything about, and that's yesterday and tomorrow. So the thing is, look at it today and ask yourself, what do I need to do to go back to the basics? What do I need to do? Do I have what I need to really do this business? Do I really want to do this? Do you really want it? Okay, if you want it, then you have to be willing to do the things necessary to get what you want. And if you can help a lot of other people get what they want, as it says, you will ultimately get what you want. But again, you have to start get the basics, get the education, get the tools, and you put those 3 things together, you have a winning combination.
And Mark, I want to leave them with this little thought here with the only time that you really have to get educated in this business, there are 2 times that you have to get educated, when you want to and when you don't want to. So have a great day, everybody. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you again here next week at the Breakfast Club. Look for some updates for some things, and we'll all have a great week. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you next week at the Breakfast Club.